Hey guys, MEP Guy here, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to create a custom plumbing fixture to model super fast. Now I will have this fixture available for download on my website, mepguy.com, so make sure you guys check that out. And also I'll be coming out with a new course called Modeling Extremely Fast in Revit or something like that very soon, so make sure to be on the lookout and check that out as well. So let's get started. So to get things started, we're going to open up a new project, and I'm going to use the plumbing default template. Click open, click OK, and once the plumbing template opens, we're going to actually insert a architectural background. So we'll go to link Revit, and I'm going to select this architectural background that I've already created. Now the background file is in our project, so I'm going to go ahead and select it and make sure I pin it down. And then we're going to hit this little pin button down here so we can't select it or move it. So basically you want to create custom plumbing fixtures so that way you can add some MEP fixtures on top of the architectural background. And when you add MEP fixtures, you'll have complete control over the functioning of the fixture, and you can also use it for scheduling. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a custom plumbing fixture. So we're going to go to File, New, Family, and we're going to select English Imperial or whatever you are, and for this we'll go down to plumbing fixture and hit open. Now this is a blank template file of a plumbing fixture, and if I go to this family category and parameters, you'll see that plumbing fixture is selected. We could actually change that, but I'm just wanted to show you guys where that lives. Now let's go ahead and create it. Now the first thing I want to mention is this point right here in the center, the origin, is the insertion point. So whatever insertion point that I want for my fixture is, I have to just keep in mind that's what this point is right here. So I'm going to start by clicking this extrusion button, and we're just going to make an extrusion. I'm going to start with this rectangle, and we're going to click this reference plane right there, and we're just going to draw it about right there, and we'll hit escape. Now it doesn't really matter where we drew it, so I'm going to finish this off, and this is what it looks like. Let's take a look at this in a 3D view. So you can see it already opened up a 3D view right here, so I'm going to click that button. But you can also access all the views right here in the project browser. So let's just hit escape, and then let's hit ZA to zoom off, and then we're going to click this little corner button so that we can see what we've created. So we created this extrusion, and you can see it's pretty thick right now. So if I click on that, I can change the extrusion depth and end right here. So right now it's at 1 foot, so maybe I want to back that down to maybe 4 inches. I'm gonna hit OK. So now it looks more similar. So we're actually going to be creating a sink here. So I'm going to go back to my reference level. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to create some reference planes. I'm going to show you why we're going to do that. So to create a reference plane, we're just going to go to Create, Reference Plane. And we're going to draw a reference plane where we want basically our geometry to snap to. So I'm going to just start right here, and we're just going to end right here. I'm going to hit Escape. So now I'm going to align this part of my fixture to this reference plane. So I'm going to just go to the Align button right here. We're going to click on our reference plane and click on this right here, and we're going to lock it. Now what that does essentially is, now when I move my reference plane, my box moves along with it. Okay, so that's very powerful. Alright, and that's how we make parametric families that we can actually manipulate the size of using just the properties of it. So we're going to continue, and we're going to create some more reference planes, and if you ever want to create another one, you just can select a reference plane and hit Create Similar, and we're just going to put one right here, just like that, hit Escape, and I'm just going to mirror this one over to the other side. So we'll use this Mirror Pick Axis button and put one right there. And now I'm going to align these using the AL button for short, and we're just going to align this to this and lock it. I'm going to align this to this and lock that. And now what we need to do is we need to actually create an equality dimension. I'm going to show you why real quick. So Annotate, Aligned. So anytime I'm dimensioning, I always want to go with the strongest dimension first. So I'm going to select this origin dimension, or this the main reference, to this reference plane right here, and then I'm going to select this reference plane right here. I'm going to drag it up and just click a point over here. Now you can see there's this little equality, little toggle dimension equality, and what that will do, if I click it, it'll just make sure that these dimensions are always equal. So I'm going to hit Escape, and when I select this reference plane when I drag it, let me zoom in a little bit. When I drag this, you can see that now both sides are always equal. So that's really powerful because we can always make sure that we're, aligned in the center here, but also creating equalities on each side. So now we're going to go ahead and add some parameters to these dimensions so that we can control the size of this box that we're creating. So to add a parameter, or first basically we're going to just add a dimension. So we're going to click this align button, and the first dimension I'm going to add is that first one we created. So I'm going to go from this point to this point and go out right there. And all I have to do to create a parameter is click the dimension, and we're just going to go up to this button right here, create parameter, and this is going to be my sink. I'm going to make it all caps, sink depth, and it's just going to be a type parameter, and dimensions is good, so we're just going to click OK. So that's now my sink depth, and I'm going to do the same thing for the width. So we're just going to create another dimension, go to annotate, aligned, and from this reference plane to this reference plane, click a point right there, hit escape, select the dimension, go up to parameter, add parameter, and we're going to call this the sink width, and it's going to be a type, and we're going to click OK. So now we can actually set these parameters to anything we want. So maybe I want to make this, I don't know, 1 foot. So if I click into this button or dimension right here, I can just set that to 1 foot, and you can see Revit stretches this reference plane, which also stretches my box. So for this, maybe we want to make this 2 feet. So we're going to make it 2 feet right there. And I just want to show you real quick. So if we click on this button, family types up here, we can also set the dimensions of our newly created parameters right here. So you can see that there's a parameter called sink depth and sink width right here. So we can set these right here. So I'm going to click OK. So this is looking pretty good from the floor plan. So I'm going to take a look at another view. So I'm going to go back to my 3D view to see what we're working with here. And anytime you want to look at what view you need to go to next, you can see the little view cube. So we need to go to the front view. So if we go down here and just click on front, so we'll just double click that. Now we're in the front view, okay? So this is looking straight onto our fixture. So the first thing I'm noticing is my fixture is on the ground on the reference level. So we need to bring that fixture up. So I'm just gonna click on this right here, and I'm just actually gonna drag this up and then just drag this up here, okay? And what that did is it changed the extrusion end and extrusion start. But we're actually gonna set some reference planes for those values. So we're just gonna right click, create similar, and I'm just gonna create one right here, and maybe we'll create, let's line it up nice and pretty, create one right there, hit escape. So we're gonna do the same thing, we're just gonna use our align command. So I'm gonna align from our reference plane to our fixture and lock it from our reference plane, oops, hit escape, let's undo that. So align from our reference plane to our fixture and lock it. Make sure that when we move our reference plane, our fixture moves with it. So everything's working great. It's always a good idea to stretch things just to make sure they're working. And let's go ahead again and assign some parameters. So let's do a dimension. And you can also dimension things by clicking on anything. And you can see Revit automatically puts a dimension there. So we can just drag that point to here. And then I can click this button to create that dimension, and then I can select that dimension, bring it out, and I can go up to this create parameter button right here. So let's make this the sink height, and it's going to be a type. Hit OK, and maybe my sink height right there is 2 foot 3 inches. So maybe I'm going to make that, I don't know, 3 feet. And we can always change these values later. So let's add one more. So let's hit annotate, aligned, and we'll just go from this point to this point. Click a point right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and make this my sink thickness. So let's go ahead and add a parameter to that. So let's add parameter. And this is gonna be my sink thickness. Hit OK. And our thickness we're gonna set at, I don't know, 4 inches, and we can always change these things later. So maybe something like that. And we want to make sure that we lock this down. So I'm going to lock that dimension right there. So now when I move the sink height from 3 foot to whatever I want, let's see if this works. So let's move it down. As you can see, the thickness is going to move along with it because I locked that dimension, okay? So let's go ahead and Control Z that, and we'll undo it, and everything seems to be working pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is probably the one of the most important parts of any family in Revit for us MEP guys, and that is our connectors. So I'm going to go ahead and add some reference planes for where we want our connections to be. So I'm going to do create similar, and we're just going to make it maybe right here. Hit escape, and I'm going to make some vertical dimensions as well. So I'm going to go to about right there. I'm going to use the mirror command right here, and we're going to select that one. We're going to use an equality dimension. I'm going a little fast now guys because you've already seen this stuff. Go to here to here. We're going to equality that. I'm going to go from here to here, and this is going to be maybe our connection offset. So let's add a parameter right here. So I'm going to add that parameter, and this is going to be our water connection offset. Hit OK. And if this text is always getting too big, it can get big. You can change the scale over here to maybe something like this, and the text gets smaller, so maybe it's a little easier to work with. I'm actually going to set it to something like this so you guys can still see this stuff. And we have our offset right here, and then we need to set the height. So I'm going to actually click this right here, and I'm just going to create this dimension right there. Well, it created two, so I don't really like that. So we're actually going to have to do it by scratch. So I'm going to go from my strong dimension to my weak one, and you always want to try to do that if you can. And we're going to make this a parameter, and this is going to be our water connection height. Hit OK, and I'm going to set that to maybe 1'6", and that's looking great. And let's go ahead and make some water connections. So I'm going to do create. We're going to create an extrusion, and I'm just going to create it at that point right there. But I'm actually going to go off to the side. I'm going to show you why I'm going to do that real quick. Let's make the radius 1/4 inch, just like that, and we'll finish that right there. And let's just take a look at what that did in a 3D view. And as you can see, there's this giant long extrusion right here. So I'm actually just going to make that extrusion maybe like 2 inches, and that looks a little more reasonable. Okay, so let's go back to our front view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back into the extrusion. So anytime you want to go back into the actual sketch, you hit this edit extrusion button, and now I can edit that sketch because I'm in the sketch mode. So I need to align that to this point right here. So the way to do that is actually kind of tricky. So I'm going to click on this guy. So if I try to align this right now, you can see that I can align to this reference plane, but I don't have anything to select on this circle. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to select the little circle, and this time I'm going to check this box called center mark visible. And that's going to create a center mark right there. So now if I go to my align command, I can align from this reference plane to the center point, and then I can lock it and do the same thing here. I'm going to click this reference plane to the center mark and lock it. And now I have locked this little extrusion circle into that intersection point. Okay. Now I'm actually going to create another one of these. I'm just going to mirror it, and I'm going to go to this mirror button, and we're just going to mirror it along this axis. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to move this over here, and I'm going to have to do the same thing using the align command. We're going to lock this guy, and we're going to lock this guy here. Okay, just like that. Hit escape. Now I'm going to finish this off, and we're going to look at it in a 3D view, make sure everything's looking good. And those are going to be my hot and cold water connections. Now you can make these, smaller, shorter, you can make them look like whatever you want, but those are our connections. And the reason we make an actual extrusion is so we can put our little connector on it, okay? So that's looking really good. Let's go back to our front view, and let's make sure we can flex this thing. So right now we're at 1'6", so I'm going to actually try to move this down and make sure my little thingies move with it. So they did, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and we're going to move that back. So everything's working great. Let's make sure our offset is working as well. So if we move it, it should move consistently. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to hit Control Z, and everything's looking great, guys. Alright, so let's continue on. Let's make a sanitary connection. So I'm just going to click one of these reference planes, and we're just going to drag it up using Control, And I'm going to add another dimension to this. So let's go to annotate, align, click our reference level, click this guy right here, and we'll click a point right there, hit escape, click on that. We'll use create a parameter. We're going to call this one our Sanitary Connection height. Hit OK. And we're going to set this connection height to maybe 2 feet. And now we're going to make our sanitary connection right here in the center point. So again, we'll go back to create, extrusion, circle. And I'm going to make a circle with a radius of 1 inch, just like that. We're going to click the center of the circle. Make sure we check center mark visible. We're going to use the align tool to align this and lock it. We're going to align this to this and lock it and finish it off. And we want to make sure that extrusion is again 2 inches. Hit apply. Let's stretch it just to make sure it's working. Yep. Hit Control Z to go back. And let's just check it out in a 3D view. And this is what we got. So this is going to be our custom sink fixture, okay? And it's going to be completely customizable to whatever we want, all right? So the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to add some pipe connectors to this thing. So to add a pipe connector, all I do is go to create, pipe connector, and we'll start with our sanitary. And you can see I can choose a face or a work plane, so I need a face. And I can just hover into the face of this fixture or this little extrusion, and I'm just going to click. And I'm going to hit escape, and I can select this connector right here. It always draws it super huge at first, so we're going to click on it, and I want to set my diameter first, so I'm going to set it to the same size as this extrusion. So I'm going to set my diameter to 2 inches, and now the diameter set. Now you always want to make sure, so this arrow actually denotes which way the pipe is going to be going, okay? So if you want your pipe to be coming into that wall, then you want to make sure the arrow is facing that way. If I wanted my pipe to go this way, I would want to make sure that this arrow was facing the other way. So I want to just mention that real quick. So now we have to manipulate this connector. So let's select it. And over here on our properties, we can do a bunch of different things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the system classification to whatever it is, and in this case it's going to be sanitary. And once I've changed that, I can set the flow configuration. And for this, I'm going to use Fixture Units, and the flow direction is going to be out. And for Fixture Units, I'm just going to set it to, I don't know, 1 for now. Oh, maybe we set it to 2. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We can always change this later, okay? Now, what I can do is I can actually set a parameter value to this Fixture Units right here. So I'm going to click this little button right here, and that's associate a family parameter. So we'll click that. And since we're in a plumbing fixture template, it already has these preset family parameters for us. So we're going to use this WFU, and that stands for Waste Fixture Unit, I think. So we're going to click on that. And that's going to be now linked to our little parameter, which is Waste Fixture Units. So let's click on Family Types. And I just want to show you what that does. So you can see right here under mechanical right here, you can set the fixture units right from here, okay? So which is important when we go into Revit, and you're going to see why. Okay, so we can always change these later if we want. So I'm going to hit OK for that. Now I'm going to set my my connectors for my hot and cold water. So let's hit create. Let's go to pipe connector. And let's just select this face right here, and this is going to be my hot water connection. So we'll hit escape. And we're going to select the connector, change the diameter to 0.5 inches for ½ inch, and we'll change from this to domestic hot water. And for this, I'm going to actually make it a preset, and I'm going to make the preset 0.5 GPM because this is going to be like a lavatory. Okay, we're just going to apply that. The flow direction's in. Because even though our pipe's coming out, the water is actually going into the fixture, where the sanitary is actually coming out of the fixture, okay? So let's do the last pipe connector we need for our cold water. So we'll select this face right here, hit escape, select our connector, change this to our cold water, and we'll use preset, and this is going to be 0.5 GPM. And we'll hit apply. Oh, we got to change our diameter to 0.5. not 6 inches, 0.5 inches for 1/2 inch. And that's it, guys. So we have created a custom plumbing fixture. So let's go ahead and load this into the project. I'm going to actually change the thickness. I don't think this needs to be 2 feet. So maybe I'm going to make it, I don't know, 1'6". That looks a little better. So I'm pretty happy with this right now. So this is going to be our custom fixture. So let's go ahead and make sure we save this, and I will have this available at mepguy.com for you guys to download. But I do recommend you guys go through all these steps and create it yourself, because you're going to want to really start creating these types of fixtures for use in Revit. When you start getting a little more advanced, you're going to really want to understand how these things work. But if you're lazy like me, go to mepguy.com and download it. Alright, so let's go ahead and save this. So we'll just go to save, and I'm going to save it under custom plumbing fixture, and I'm just going to name this my MEP guy. I'm going to actually name it a sink fixture, something like that. Go to options, make sure, I just want one backup for this, and we'll just hit save. So now that it's saved, we can load it into our project. So let's go to load into project, and let's zoom in. And let's just go ahead and put this right behind, or right in on top of our other fixture right here. So I'm going to click this point right here, and look at it, it's covering it up. So I'm going to hit escape, and I can just go ahead and copy this to all the other fixtures. But since there's a lot, I'm going to go ahead and use the array command. So we'll just go click array, and we'll use, make sure we use, go from this point, make sure we use second. And I believe there are 7 fixtures. I should know because I created them. And now we have all of these created. Now, one thing with the array command and group and associate, you can see there's all these little associations right here. And they're like grouped together. And there's also this number 7. So I can change this to 6 if I want. And it'll actually make it 6 fixtures. Or it'll array it 6 times. And that's what... that's basically what that group and associate does. But if you ever want to ungroup that stuff, you just can click ungroup right here, and that will get rid of that group and association stuff. Alright, so anyway, let's continue. So now we have our fixtures on top of our other fixtures, and I kind of like this because when you're modeling in Revit, you can kind of make sure that you are using, you're adding your MEP ones on top of the architects. So, having them display maybe in a different color or something is actually very helpful. Let's make sure we ungroup that guy right there. But I do like the way this is kind of working. But I'm actually going to show you guys how to hide these too later on in the video. So the best part about these custom fixtures is being able to quickly model. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, and we're going to open up a 3D view by hitting this little section box. And I'm just going to pull my little section box out here, hit escape. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this unpin button. We're going to tab into this wall. I'm just going to hide this wall for demonstration purposes. And we're just going to take a look at this thing, and I'm actually going to hide this section box too. So we'll just right click on that, hide in view category, and we'll hide the level as well. And now we just have our custom fixture, and then the architectural background. So the architectural background fixture. So let's go ahead and make a system. So let's start out with the sanitary. So I'm going to go select all of the fixtures that I just created, the MEP ones, and we're just going to hit this piping button. And I'm going to create a sanitary system, hit OK. And now my system has been created. So I'm going to generate a layout. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that the one thing that you have to do if you use like out of the box fixtures is I have to make sure that this elevation is correct. But since we created that, we know what that elevation is, okay? So we know that the elevation needs to be 2. So for my main, I'm going to set it to 2. And for my branch, I'm going to set it to 2. And I want it to be PVC since it's sanitary, and make sure my main is also PVC. I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, Revit is kind of, connecting all these things together for me. And I can just hit the Finish Layout button, and it should just connect all these pieces or all these lavatories together. And let's go to our, we can use our thin lines, or our thick lines, but we actually need to change the detail level. Let's change it to fine, and we'll do our thin lines. And as you can see, Revit has drawn all these fixtures, or all the piping to the fixtures, you know, in a nice way. So, and the best part about that is we knew what that elevation was, okay? So let's do the same thing for the hot and the cold water. So let's draw those real quick. So I'm just gonna deselect that piece of pipe. We're gonna select all of our plumbing fixtures. So we'll filter, and we only wanna select the plumbing fixtures this time. Okay, and we're just going to create another piping system by going up to piping, and this time we'll start with our hot water is fine, and we'll generate a layout. And again, we're going to have to change the settings, and this time we'll use pipe type standard, and we know that we created the connections at 1'6", and we can set this to 1'6". Hit OK, and that looks good. If you guys want to edit this layout, you can. If you go to edit layout, you can actually select these pieces, and you can actually drag them back in right there. And I could drag this guy, and it should snap to this piece right here, just like that. And that looks pretty good. That looks like it's in the wall right now, so that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and finish that layout. And Revit automatically put it on my hot water system, so that was very nice of Revit to do that for me. So let's finish this off and do the same thing, and we'll make the cold water piping. So we'll select all of our fixtures, we'll go to filter, make sure only plumbing fixtures are selected. Now I'm going to create a new piping system. It's going to be cold water this time. We're going to generate a layout, and I'm going to go to my settings, make sure we make it 1'6", go to our branch, make it 1'6", hit OK, and we're not going to mess with this time, so I'm just going to go to finish layout, and that looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this maybe a little closer here, and I'm going to go to the floor plan so I can really take a look at this and really dial in where I want these pipes to be. So I'm going to click my thick lines button, and we're just going to use the arrow keys to kind of make sure this is in the wall. Something like this looks good, and we'll just dial this in. We'll make it a little closer to the wall. That's looking a little better. And for our sanitary, we would have to change these. So let's say we want all of the flow to go to the right, so I'm going to just change this by clicking on the T, and we'll hit this little flip button. We'll click on this T, we'll hit this flip button, click on this T, hit the flip button, click on this T. Now if I would have placed it based, it would have eliminated this step, so maybe I'll do that next time. Click on this little fitting guy right here, and this time we're gonna add a T, and we'll flip it just like this, and then we're gonna right click on this fitting right here and draw a pipe, and I'll go to a point about right here, and we'll drop this down to -2. Hit apply, and would you look at that, I have created a sanitary, a hot, and a cold water system for these lavatories. Now let's go back to the 3D view, and one cool thing about all of this is I can quickly also size my sanitary and cold water systems, but that's for another video. We won't get into that. But like I said, guys, let's say we want to change the connection height for all this piping right here. Maybe I want to bring this down to 1 foot, and I want to bring the sanitary down to 1'6". So all I have to do is actually select one of my fixtures, and then go to edit type. And what I can do, I have all of my family parameters located right here that I can change. So let's go ahead and change the water connection height, and we'll make that, we'll make this 1 foot. So let's just click 1 in there and hit enter and hit apply, and you'll see those get dropped down right here. And let's go ahead and change our sanitary height, and let's make that 1'6", 1'6", and we'll hit apply, and that went ahead and dropped my sanitary line. So as you can see, just using these custom fixtures, I'm able to model very quickly, and I can control all of my connection heights, and I can do it all within the family, and that's really cool. Now the last thing I'm going to show you guys is how to hide these fixtures, because if we do send this model off to the architect, we don't want our fixtures coming over top or being over top of theirs and looking silly like this. So and also in our floor plan, we don't want this to be the standard for the way things look. So I'm going to show you how to hide these fixtures real quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and select one of the fixtures. I'm just going to go to edit family, and so once I'm into the edit family, I'm going to go to a 3D view. And I'm just going to go ahead and select all of the geometry inside this family. And I'm going to filter it and just make sure only plumbing fixtures is selected. Hit OK. So once I have the plumbing fixture geometry selected, you can see there's this visible, and we can just go ahead and uncheck that. But I actually want to control that with a parameter. So I'm going to click this Associate Family Parameter button, and we're going to create a new parameter, and we're going to call this Fixture Visible. And it's going to be a visibility type, but the type is going to be a yes or no. Okay, and it automatically does that since we clicked on visible right here. So I'm going to hit OK and hit OK. And now if we go to our family types, you can see there should be a fixture visible, and the default is it's on. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. And we're going to load this back into the project by going to load into project. We're going to overwrite the existing. And now if I want to hide my fixtures, I can just select them or select one of them. And all I have to do is go to edit type, and let's just go down to fixture visible, and we'll just deselect that. Hit apply. And now you can see the visibility of my fixtures is controlled in the family editor or family type properties right here. Okay, so that's all you have to do. And if I ever want to show it again, I would just go into that fixture and make sure I click on fixture visible, hit apply, and now they're showing again. Okay, so that's how you can control visibility. Okay, there's a lot of different ways, and I've shown them in other videos, so you can do whatever method you like best. Now the last thing I will mention is, let me go ahead and just copy one of these fixtures. And one thing I don't know if I talked about is these fixtures are actually what we call non-hosted. There's no, they don't host to anything like the walls or anything like that. And that's extremely important, because you're going to run into a lot of times where the architect decides to delete this wall right here. And if you're hosting your fixtures to this wall, all of your fixtures are going to not know what to do, and you're going to get all these warnings. I'm going to go over all of this in my course, which is going to be dedicated on modeling super fast in Revit, and all of the things you're going to want to think about when you're modeling and basically dealing with architectural changes. And I'm also going to show you a pretty ninja technique to get all of your fixtures copied in really quickly. So anyway, the last thing I want to show you is if we click on any of these fixtures, we can actually create multiple types. Okay, so if I go to edit type, right now there's really only one type, and that's this MEP guy sink fixture. And I'm going to go ahead and rename that, and maybe I want to make that my lavatory, and maybe on my schedule I call my lavatory L1, and I'm going to click OK. Now I can simply just duplicate this, and we'll call the next one, maybe we're going to make a sink, and we make that SK-1. Okay, and so now I have two different types in my model. So let's say this guy is SK1, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that over here, and maybe this one is going to be, let's go to, and maybe this one will be my lavatory one, and hit OK. And so now you can see this one is L1, and this one is SK1. Okay, so the main difference there is what I could do is I can make sure that I could change the mark, I could change comments, and I can add some more parameters in here based on what the fixture is. So when I'm scheduling these, and I'm going to do a video on scheduling these fixtures, these custom fixtures, and I'll also have that in my course. So everything will be automatic, and you can create different fixtures for your schedule, and that's how you would do it. But then the nice thing about doing the different fixtures is now I can control each fixture's values. So maybe the lavatory is flowing at 0.5 GPM, but maybe my sink has a different flow rate. So I can control that all from here using the hot water fixture units or something like that. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, so you can create multiple types with this this setup. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure you look out for next week's video, which should be in the upper right corner soon, and that will be the video where I go over how to schedule these things and how to create multiple types within your project. So see you guys next week.